All right, welcome everybody. This is episode 37, and I'm with my buddy Kahl, and we've known each other for holy shit since 2009. That's when I got to the dais.
Yeah, I was there.
So 15 years now, and in this episode I'm doing a what's your why. So let's get started with the cheers. He prematurely cracked his. So cheers, and it's Shiner too. So Shiner's always a good thing.
Can't go wrong.
For those that don't know, I'm actually in Texas right now, visiting family for the holidays, and I decided to do a couple podcasts because I got another one after this. But before we get started, thank you. Kahl and I have had some conversations about this for quite some time, and he loves the concept, so I'll gear him in the right direction. But before we get started, look at this artwork. I mean, this is what we were, maintainers and stuff, and it's a beauty. We were looking for stuff, and he saw this, so he was like, "Let's throw it in the background." So let's go ahead and get started. Give us a little background, where you're from, what you did in the military, how long you did, and stuff like that.
Okay, so really, I'm a military brat, so from all over the place. My dad was Air Force for 23 years. Born in Oregon, bounced around as a military brat, Spain and England, and around the U.S., Texas, and so as I guess I joined officially from Hawaii, and I flew back into Oregon where I had some family to do MEPS before I went to basic training. But my dad really kind of drove me, I think, in the right direction to join the Air Force. I really had no clue what I wanted to do. I still don't know what I want to do. But he kind of gave me some options like, hey, you should either go to school and learn something or just go join the military because you can be an idiot and do that. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. I had no clue what I wanted to do. But he was civil engineering, and I liked heavy equipment. That's actually what I tried to do. I was trying to hold out for that when I joined. But it didn't work out that way. I ended up in metals technology, which was actually 10,000 times better anyway.
Were you, hold on, I got to interrupt. You're more a machinist than a welder, because there's two parts to that. So right?
There used to be multiple parts, and there still is, really. I'm both. Some people really, it is machining, welding, heat treating, everything to do with metals. So that's metals technology. Everything to do with the metal and fabrication is really what it boils down to. Some people are really, really good at machining, and some people are really, really good at welding. I think I'm just like the mid dude. I love machining, I love programming, and I really love welding too. So I just kind of fell into it, and which is crazy because I actually tried to get out of that career field in basic training. They had that day where you could go talk to the jobs people and try and get out of it. I tried to get out of it. I'm like, what is this? I don't want to do anything with this. I remember going to tech school. The first day they opened this big door, and you go in and it's all lathes. And I've never used a lathe, never seen it. And I'm like, I got to learn this thing with a million knobs and buttons. I don't want to do this. That's how it started.
Oh, so you kind of alluded to your dad helping you out, kind of gearing you, but why did you join? Because a lot of us kind of are unsure what the hell we want to do in life, and you already had that edge of traveling and seeing things. I did. Because he was in Spain, and then your home base was Hawaii, or where you enlisted from. So, I mean, come on, those are already two exciting places, and you could have stayed in Hawaii. Why did you join?
I think I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and I knew that the opportunities for schooling, for one, and for kind of career growth in anything, was just a really, really good opportunity, honestly. And so I needed to do something with my life, and that's what I chose. You go in, you take your ASVAB, you kind of figure out, it's a good test to lead you into what your skill sets are. And, I was high in electronics, high in mechanical, and they were like, here, join, do one of these jobs. Just pick from this list. Yeah, you'll get it, which 90% of the time you don't.
This is true.
Right. But it's still awesome. I mean, they're pretty good at gearing people's based on their testing.
Yeah, their
traits.
aptitudes.
Yeah,
So your aptitude test.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they're good at that. It really does place you pretty well. And so I was actually truthfully happy. I loved my job. My goal, my dad was an officer, so my goal was to come in, do my schooling, become an officer, do the crossover. I really started that. Of course, you get in, we had 2 tests at the time for CDCs. We had 2 separate volumes. It was like, 8 books, I think, 8 or 9 books. I mean, it was crazy study time. And so, that delayed schooling, can't really do schooling while you're doing CDCs back in the day when they had that. And then, after time, I just really fell in love with the job. Like, no kidding, I loved the job. And I still wanted to be an officer. I started doing school, but I felt like I could do better things where I was at because I just enjoyed it so much. I loved the people. I loved working on airplanes and making stuff. I've always loved making stuff, clearly.
Yeah, clearly.
But yeah, so that's kind of how it got started, man.
So for the civilians in the audience, CDCs are career development courses. They allow you to kind of learn the job. You do a lot of OJT or on the job training, and that on the job training also comes with a curriculum. So as you're going through, you're reading, and then you're actually doing it as a practical. I don't know, not really a test, but practical knowledge applied onto it. So
different.
It's crazy because a lot of people don't quite understand. Like if you go to school for a trade school, you'll understand. Like you definitely have your courses, and then you also do hands-on stuff. So
most career fields nowadays don't even have CDCs. They did away with.
Really?
Yeah, they did away with. I think 100% at this point, but. It was about 90% of them by the time I got out were gone.
Wow.
It was all
OJT.
I think it's a huge mistake.
Which is good and bad. I mean, you definitely need to learn the theories. I mean, there's absolute knowledge in the theories to get to the end point. So I agree with you. I don't think it's a good thing. I mean, for personnel and stuff like that, I think that's self-explanatory. You have to learn on the job. But for,
depends on what the knowledge base is, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always written material to cover everything. So I don't know.
So, prior to us, starting this, we had a conversation about, your formative years in the military, kind of like I wasn't a shithead in the formative years, but I was a little later on. I really wasn't a shithead, just kind of got in a little sticky situation.
Yeah.
But what made you decide to stay that second term? Because sometimes people come in and they don't know what the hell they're going to do. And I know you had that background with your dad and everything else, but did you just see like this was going to be a life and it's easy once you kind of retire? Because it is easy. It's nice. It's nice being retired.
Yeah. I really did, man. So yeah, I one thing I want to jump back. So cool thing about my dad was he actually came to basic training, and at the end of your class, you'd redo your oath of enlistment, and he did our entire class's oath of enlistment.
Oh, really?
So he did my enlistment.
Nice.
And so when it came up for that, I did 4 years because I'm like, I don't know if I want to stay, right? They're offering extra rank and everything for doing 6 years, but I didn't know. So I just said, hey, I'm going to do 4 and see if I like it. But like I said, man, I got to the end of that. I was doing great. And I really felt like I just enjoyed the job. And that's what made me want to stay. I did see the long term. You can do 20 to 30 years, get a good retirement. I enjoyed the people I was working with at the time. And so I just continued to want to be part of the team, really. And so my dad came. He did every one of my enlistments.
Did he do every one of your enlistments? Really? Wow.
So he came and met up. Actually, I'm trying to think if that was the time. One of mine I actually did in the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force's office because my dad was stationed at the Pentagon, and I think that was that one. So I re-enlisted there, and then just wanted to continue to grow. Still wanted to be an officer at that time, and I don't know, become some grandiose leader that never happened. But yeah, so I wanted to stay because I enjoyed it, really is what it boiled down to. It was a good job.
All right, and I'm not detracting from his career, but what did your dad retire as?
He retired as Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there for those that aren't watching. He was an officer, so he re-enlisted, and officers are the ones that re-enlist enlisted individuals.
Yeah.
So after your first, second, third, and I know a lot about Kahl's career because we've had tons of conversations. We've kept in touch all these years, and he became a first shirt, which I was trying to become a first shirt, and because of my girl tattoos, you remember that whole thing?
I remember that vividly.
Because of my girl tattoos, I got denied by a chief master sergeant, and I definitely know his name. And anyway, we're not going to go down that path, but you have your little whys, and
always. Why
did you want to be a shirt? Because that's a first sergeant in the Air Force is kind of like a first sergeant in every branch. You're taking care of the people. You're not really, you're not worried about maintenance, or you're not worried about, job stuff. You're worried about your HR, but in a whole different level.
Yeah.
It's very, very intense. It's very in depth. It's very, you have to it tests your patience, because I did undershirt for almost a year, with some very good commanders, and that's why I wanted to be it, because I love that aspect of it, of the people. Why did you do that? Because that's a hard one. So
that's funny, and you may know this and not really remember it so much. So up until 2014-ish, 2013, 2014. To become a first sergeant, people would do exactly what you did, try and be an undershirt, and really had a drive, hopefully to help the people is the goal. And there's some people with some ulterior motives for that too, but they try and intentionally go down that first sergeant path. I absolutely was not looking to do that. And so I loved maintenance. At the time, I was a production superintendent. And so, I was running maintenance. I absolutely loved the job. Crazy stuff, working on airplanes, repairing stuff, and just trying to keep the mission going. I was loving it. And that was with Hawes as the boss. Mm-hmm. He's an awesome man, a great leader. And so at the time, I was kind of, for my rank, I was kind of like the number one guy under him. And the Air Force changed the way they did the rules to become a first sergeant, right? So it became a sort of appointed person. And so the very, very first round, the Air Force came out and said, hey, look, here's what we want you to do. And they charged those commanders to say, you need to take your number one person and you need to vector them to be a first sergeant. So you need you essentially, right, you need to essentially make them do it. And you could say no and probably get out of that in some way. At the time, Hawes came to me and said, hey, look, I'm going to follow the way the Air Force wants this done. We're going to select you and put your name up, and, are you willing to take on that challenge? And, of course, I was committed to the Air Force at the time, committed to the people. I knew that was a people position, essentially. I didn't really know anything else about it. It wasn't something I wanted to do at all. I actually did not want to do it. But he said, are you willing to take that challenge? And I said, yes, of course. I committed to the Air Force, and whatever I need to do to make it a better place and a continuing functioning machine, I'm going to do it, And so that's actually what put me in the position to do it. It was the same time I picked up a line number to be a senior master sergeant at the same time before I was a shirt. And so typically to become a shirt, you have to be a master sergeant, and you can't become a shirt as a senior master sergeant.
You couldn't?
No.
Oh, really? You make rank there and you stay in the position.
Correct.
Wow.
And so so I was kind of that anomaly. There was some folks that were like telling me, hey, you're not going to be authorized to do it, which at the time I was actually, thankful for, because I was trying to stay in maintenance. I loved maintenance, and, it's just an awesome career path for me. And so, long story short, they ended up going, hey, we got it. We see that you're gonna be a senior master sergeant soon, but technically you'll be through the class before that happens. I think I sewed on maybe 2 months or something, 3 months after the class. I forget what it was. It wasn't very long. Maybe even a little more than that. And so I said, okay, hey, I'll go. I went to the school, took on the challenge, came right back. That was at Dyess Air Force Base. Came right back and worked for an awesome team there. Just really good leaders there. So
I'm trying to think Vasala. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that
awesome guy, a friend of mine still today. So.
The group of commanders that were all within that
really good team at that time.
Phenomenal. The maintenance group had
really good leader. Even the group commander
from General Gibbs down.
Yeah.
Well, he's general. I mean, he retired. He retired as a 1-star. Yeah. I saw him a while back.
Yeah.
Great guy. But that was a phenomenal.
I think
time.
he had Star at the time too as our wing commander.
Yeah. Yep.
He was awesome dude too.
Yep.
Really, we had a good leadership team there at that time on that base.
Yeah. And which is unfortunate, and not for his story, because I'm glad that he got it, but I really, really, really wanted to be a shirt. And I fought tooth and nail
through it.
And but everything happens for a reason.
It does.
I'm grateful for the experiences that I got out of everything, and I'm happy. Now getting back.
Trail off.
Getting back, yeah. See, and that's why I said I have to reel it in sometimes. But you did how many years? Because you didn't say that in your background.
Total Air Force, 23, just over 23 years.
23 years. Mm-hmm. So you could have just retired at 20. What led you to go those extra 3 years? Because I mean, sometimes people are like, I'm fed up at 20. Actually, most people are fed up at like 15.
Yeah.
And then they push through that 20 and then they're done.
Yeah.
But what I've always been told is there's a day you wake up and you're just like, nope, I'm fucking done. I'm done.
That's pretty much fact. I mean, seriously, like everybody I know, that's exactly what happens. So yeah, of course, kind of like, you stated before, and I think most people know, there's a certain point where, you got that first enlistment and you're like, hey, okay, I'm gonna stay. So at that point, when you decide to stay, you're staying till 10 because you're dumb if you stay less than that. That's like the only, smart timing to get out, basically, where you didn't kind of waste your time. Now, don't get me wrong, you learned a lot of skills, but you're kind of wasting your commitment if you don't at least go to that 10-year point. Right? And then people who stay beyond that, you're like, hey, if I'm staying beyond 10, you might as well hit that 20 because that's the retirement point, right? So that's kind of what drove me through that. And my goal was still at this point now, I originally started out wanting to be an officer, but then I was like, I'm going to be a chief, I'm going to be a chief. My goal was always to be a chief by 20. That obviously didn't happen. And that was one of my driving factors. I really loved what I did. I loved the people, taking care of the people, and improving really working conditions and the working environment. I really wanted to take care of people, which is probably why they put me in the first sergeant position in the first place too. But so I got up to that 20-year point, and I still had drive. Really, is what it was. I had just finished. Let's see. Trying to think of timelines, but I'd finished being a shirt, and I was really looking to, after that, you kind of you're supposed to get to go to a base of your choice. Really doesn't work that way, but you get better preferences in some cases. Anyway, so went to a new base, and I was like, hey, I got to keep going with this. Why not? I don't dislike it. Kind of like you said, right? If you're enjoying it, I had no reason to leave. I didn't have some grand plan to get out and go do something. I was pushing for 30. I said, hey, why not? I can push for 30. Make chief, make an impact on the Air Force, and retire somewhere. And so that's what kind of pushed me past that 20-year point. And I kept chugging along until one day you wake up and there are driving factors that will make you go, I'm fed up and done with this. That's exactly what happens. And I can tell you, I'll just leave it at that for now. But there was a lot of us at the time that made the same decision. Really, really good leaders and good people in the Air Force.
Those driving factors happened for me right after I got in a little bit of trouble.
Yep.
I still had an opportunity, and I don't know that I fully have voiced this, but I had an opportunity to still make master, and then the higher tenure went up to 22. And I, not studying or anything, I missed it by 6 that last time.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, you can just stay for another 2 years and get that stripe back. And at that point, as you know, I was like, nah, for what? But I mean, luckily things happened, and I think it was for the best for me to get out at the time. Yeah. So
it was unfortunate. I will say that. So anybody, for those of you that do know the military and know the first sergeant world, you deal with everybody who's getting in trouble. And at the time, I was a first sergeant still. And when people get in trouble, you can get these little character statements from folks. They write something about someone's character and to really help them stay out of trouble, essentially. So you'll know from most leaders and definitely first sergeants, no one writes character references. I hate to say that. Usually it's like your friend or somebody that and some airman that works for you or something that writes a character statement about you. And if it's anyone other than that, a supervisor or a commander or something like that's really a more influential person with more experience in that kind of trouble area, they 99.9% of the time they are not going to write a character reference, just because it probably won't do a lot of good. But in your case specifically, I did. Matter of fact, I think I've only ever written. That's the only one I can think of my whole career. I might have wrote one more character reference that I don't even remember. But I know several people who on your behalf did, because you were freaking a phenomenal airman. I mean, the bottom line is you were an awesome leader, awesome at your job. Shitty situation that you ended up in, and it's just unfortunate that sometimes where you're at and the rules that are in place at the time can just have negative effects on great careers.
It was crazy because as he alluded to with the couple people that he knows or that we both have mutual friendships with. When I went to the Area Defense Council, which is my version of a lawyer, when people got in trouble in Korea, usually they had maybe 1 to 2 character statements. I had 26.
Yeah. Unheard
26 character statements. Everybody at the ADC who had been there a year, 2 years, or even more, if
never seen it,
they were like, "Holy hell!" Yeah. Like I've seen people with 1. I think the guy said, I think the max I've seen was 5, and that was from a lieutenant or a captain.
Yeah.
He was like 26, and he starts looking lieutenant colonel, major, chiefs, master sergeants, senior master sergeants, and I'm just like. I wasn't a shitbag. I literally was, but I mean,
found yourself in a shitty situation.
Find yourself in a shitty situation, and it wasn't even anything egregious,
That's what I did.
I should have pushed somebody or punched somebody and took off, but I was like, no, face my consequences, and then this is what I get. So, and it was because of bad leadership there. So,
that's what happens.
But hey. Pass is a pass, and
yep.
I absolutely, and we've talked about this, I enjoyed that I got out and did,
doing great things now, just like this.
Just like this. So, now, that why, okay, so you retired at 23, what's the kind of driving force now? Like, why? Like, I mean, a lot of people have this... you're retired, you can kind of do a cake job, but I know you're striving for more. There's still that why there.
Yeah. Oh, always to make an impact and just do something, I don't know, fun, interesting, good with your life and whatever skill sets you've got. I got out, and as you know, I went to work right away for an aerospace manufacturing company. Really enjoyed it. It was actually a perfect fit. It was really the same thing. So aerospace manufacturing, legacy aerospace parts, custom parts, serving who? The DoD, because that's who needs them. We also made stuff for the OEMs, which in turn are just giving it right to the DoD also. So, we were still making parts for all these planes that me and you used to work on anyway, which was awesome. And keeping that warfighting machine moving. So, I am a huge proponent of the Air Force, of our nation's defense. And so, that's always going to be a part of me, American blood through and through, going to always go to take care of our country and our security. So I think that's really what drove me down that. Of course, the skill set was there for that kind of job just because I've been doing the Air Force for so long. And anyway, so that's what keeps me driving. As you know, I recently resigned from that position. And so I'm looking for something new to do. But you just keep going.
That's a little plug. If you need them,
Yeah.
got them. Here in the San Antonio area.
Right.
New Braunfels.
New Braunfels area.
Yeah.
That's another thing. So as you do get to that retirement point, I think that's a nice thing too. I'm trying to, I've had some job offers that are down in San Antonio, south side. It's like an hour drive from me. I really don't want to drive that far. That's really what it boils down to. I'm trying to look for something close to home.
Or work from home.
Yeah, or work from home. Yeah, that's true too.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah,
there are.
Yeah, I actually applied for one today.
So if you're the employer watching, definitely get them hooked up. Him and I used to have a little hobby together. We did a lot of woodworking stuff.
We did.
We sold some pretty good stuff too. Some chairs, or benches and stuff like that. So
I think those are still at the bar down.
Down in San Antonio.
Your sister still work
No,
there?
she doesn't work there.
Okay.
But yeah.
Last time I went, she was still there.
Yeah.
It was a while back.
Oh yeah, it was a while back. I don't think she's been there for like 6-7 years. But
Okay.
yeah. There's some of our benches out, or not benches,
Stools.
bar stools, out at one of the
Riverwalk.
the Riverwalk. Yeah. We were making all kinds of stuff. I mean, he had some stuff up here earlier that on this table that were what he's made,
and some stuff that I'd pulled out of I think, is it still under there? The planes. Anyway, coin holders.
Oh yeah,
over there.
Yeah. Here's some little
found
coin
those.
holders that we made. I mean, they were pretty nice. I mean,
That was back in like 2014. Just a couple days.
Oh, that was 10 years ago. Shit.
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah.
All right. See, we digress all the time. All the time. Now, what I usually do is kind of discuss, like, what did you enjoy? But I'm going to do a little twist on this now because I kind of want to go into I don't want to say negative because it's not negative. But I want to save the enjoyment for last. And then it alludes to or leads to the closing comments and everything else and advice.
Yeah.
So, any regrets in the military? Because that one's a hard one. Because there's regrets and change, and I'm going to get to the change after the regrets because you can change certain things and still not regret anything. But did you have any regrets?
I can't really honestly say I had any serious regrets. I think from my personal drive and desires in the Air Force, right? I think when I became a first sergeant, it certainly derailed my career objectives because that was 4.5 years of a path that had nothing to do with what I wanted to do. So I think if I could go back, I don't know that I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it though, so that doesn't really change anything. I like what I was able to do in that position and the people I was able to help. But at some point, if you talk regrets, I think that's the one sort of regret I would have because, I had a nice plan to go from point A to point B and it was derailed, really completely. And so point B never existed again. And when it came back to, that was, 4.5 years later, 5 years later, and in maintenance, as I'm sure if you go be a first sergeant, you've just derailed your career, really, is what you've done, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because most of the maintenance leaders are not really familiar with the true impact I think that position holds. I was stupid lucky in that normally when you become first sergeant, you get sent to other organizations, right, outside of your career field and specialties. In other words, I was maintenance. You're never going to be a first sergeant in maintenance. Thank the Lord for me. But I was sent directly back to maintenance, and my entire time I stayed in maintenance as a first sergeant.
Damn.
So I will tell you, all my commanders that I worked for loved that because not only was I able to take care of the people, I was able to associate with them I knew exactly what they were talking about. I knew the mission. So normally the first sergeant doesn't really know the mission of that unit so well, not from at least in-depth stance, but they know the people part, right? So I was super lucky. I knew the mission down to the detail and I took care of the people. So that was lucky. And that's why I say, I don't know that I would change it, But from a regret stance, me saying, yes, I'll take on this challenge, I kind of regret the fact that it, would have gone a different path in my career.
Yeah. So I think that should be, I understand why they don't align, career fields with the squadrons that they're in, but maybe associate them with something similar, so that way they understand the mission, like you said, and then as well take care of the people. And where they're not entrenched and still in the maintenance or still in the wickets of whatever's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And really, if you look at that, it kind of goes on to almost the psychology side of that, but you can look at all the personality traits and everything, just like going back to taking your ASVAB and getting, hey, what are your skills, right? So maintainers align closely with other career fields. For instance, security forces, oddly enough, like those kind of personalities are very similar, typically, I'd say. And so, you could do stuff like that where you kind of fit in, or mentally you're more similar.
Where the outcasts all align and we just become a bigger outcast group.
Right. Basically. So, but no, it was cool. But yeah, that was the only real regret, man.
Now, the change aspect of that, you said the regret portion, but the change portion, any small little things or anything that you would change, because, some things that you change can kind of alter what you did. Or, maybe it wouldn't. But was there anything that you would change?
That's a really good question, too. Not a lot of stuff. Really nothing stands out significantly that I would have changed. I went in, and no matter what position I was in, my goal was to do my best, take care of the people, and build a good team. It's the same goal I have today. So I don't think I would have changed much. I think what I intentionally did, that I had control over, I did the way I wanted to do, and would do it the same again. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of change that I would have made in that, There's probably something I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
One little thing, and there's some incident, but...
And I'm on episode 37 of this What's Your Why, and I always kind of think about this later on. And sometimes I think about a couple of the airmen that I ended up, booting because they were, I don't want to say troublemakers, they just failure to adapt.
Yep.
Would wake up late. One kid came in formation with earrings in his ear, and I lost my shit.
I've done that.
Maybe I shouldn't have been. Maybe the thing that I should have changed was maybe my temperament.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think I've ever brought that up, but my temperament was, I would lose it in a heartbeat with some of these kids, and it was the nature of the beast. You had to not show a sign of weakness, but in the same token, still relate to them. And sometimes that relatability would not be there. I would be like, nah, fuck these kids. Yeah. Why are they doing this? Why the hell? What am I doing wrong with myself? Which that wasn't the case. It was just learned behavior from who they were growing up.
So, that's a really, really good point when you talk change, in that aspect, because I can think, so you don't know this about me, but I can tell you, especially when I was younger in my career, kind of like probably about the time when I met you anyway. But so I used to lose my temper on the guys too. It probably took me a little more. But I can remember like cussing some people out, yelling at some people, like just zero professionalism whatsoever, right? You lose your temper. And then, and I remember this kid that I yelled at one time, just I was going off, and he just rolled his eyes at me. Oh. And boy, if you could just, fist bump a guy's face, I would have done it. But, but really, one of the things I'll say from that, and I don't know that I would change it, because that one, my entire career, I remember as like it clicked in my head that, if you want to lead somebody and you want to, whether they're doing it right or doing it wrong, you want to make that change. If you lose your temper and you just start yelling at them, you lose all respect. They'll never listen to you again. Yep. And so that's what clicked. I'll never forget that. I can tell you exactly where I was standing and everything, and it clicked that, man, I'm doing things wrong. And I'll tell you, I only did it after that. I think I can think of 1, 2, 3 more times where I really lost my temper after that kid. One was actually on Adams, which I apologized to him later, but he was a really, really good guy. Still is to this day. Has a great business. He's doing awesome. But I yelled at him one day because I think he was late and he hadn't done some stuff that he was supposed to do. And I just held him to a really, really high standard because he was that good. And I was just pissed that he didn't do it, right? And so, I would change that one. I would definitely change that one because he didn't deserve it, And then the other one, I yelled at this kid when we were in Kuwait. And the other two are that same kid, but he just should have never been in the Air Force in the first place, and I'll stand by those two.
I definitely lost my cool in a deployment, and in front of everybody that just had gotten there, because there was this guy that was like, "Hey, Pedro," and I was like, "You motherfucker, get the fuck." Mind you, I had been on. You're supposed to only work 12 hours a day. We
Probably
were
up
doing
to 16 or
we
something.
were doing a B1 ads lines, and I didn't want anybody touching it. And I was a guy, and
20 hours.
I think I was already at like 18 to 20 hours.
Yeah.
And this guy comes in with this goofy ass face, and sorry, I apologize, baby Jesus. Like, but I mean, if I could have fist bumped his face multiple times, it would have happened.
Yeah.
And these are the stories that kind of pop up as we, we're sitting here talking because. I didn't forget about that, but it's just one of those that's not
in the core memory.
In the core memory, and it
right.
just came back up. And I'm like, but yeah.
You talk change.
Yeah.
And that. But that's a good point, man. Those are some growing points too in your career. You got to grow and learn how to take care of people, how to lead people in the right direction, good or bad. I can tell you, everything I went through. That's why I don't know that I would go back and physically, if I could change things. I can think of stuff now where, in my most recent position in the civilian world, where a lot of those things, I'd been able to adapt to people so well. I can tell you right now, I have fired so many people from the company I was at that would come back and work for me. I had people ask me, apologize. I'm so sorry that I didn't come to work on time for 10 freaking days in a row or whatever it was, right? It's not a true example, but, they would apologize and say, hey, can I get another chance? Can I come back and work for you? And I think that's because of that adapting. I learned to say, hey, man, you suck right now. I don't hate you. You've done good things here and here and here, but if you can't control X, Y, and Z, to be the perfect employee where we need you to be, then I'm gonna have to fire you, man. And they understand that. So that communication, when you don't lose your temper, that's pretty important.
Calm, cool, and collective.
That's right.
Now, that's kind of, I don't want to say the negative, but now let's jump into what are some of the good things? What good things and good leaders? We know,
Oh, yeah, we do. So it's like go back, negative and positive are twisted together like that because it's the negative leaders in there. That's one of the things I didn't talk about. You can't really have control to change that, but I've had plenty of those. I know you have. And so the good things were the positive leaders and the impacts that they made on my life and my career and your career in some cases. And then the same thing when, my favorite thing was being able to, I guess, learn from that and go back and take care of people in the same way. Especially when they're in situations like yours. Like I go back to that character reference, right? I would have never done that I didn't do it for anybody else really. And so when you see people that truly deserve to be taken care of and a person better, you can hopefully make that impact. That's what I loved. I loved the people. I loved the good people. I can think of so many, if you talk change that I didn't have control over, that I could go back and change, I would change some of the I guess rules, regulations, or my control and impact on that through my career. Stuff way outside of your control, but I can go back to the PT program that we had for years. I can think of some of the best airmen. I mean, just phenomenal at the job, good people. There was one kid that had tree trunk legs, man. He just couldn't run. Not fast enough, right? But who cares? He was phenomenal at his job, and we separated him. right? You got kicked out of the military. Sorry, dude, you can't run fast enough. I know you're phenomenal at your job. You come to work every day. You're a great person, right? And that sucks. If I could have changed that, I would, because I can tell you there was other people that, hey man, I know you did illegal drugs, which we have a zero tolerance for, and we gave you an Article 15, and you can stay in the Air Force for the rest of your career. It's cool, no problem. We're gonna rehabilitate you. Yeah, like get out of here. No, man, like zero tolerance, or the kid who is committed fully with his heart and his skill set to do the job, and that really sucked. So if I could change that kind of thing and be like pick between them, you know. I would.
That was a great purge of like 2011, right?
Oh, there are so many of them.
Yeah, but that one was like horrible because we had to get rid of a whole bunch of people.
Yep. That was one of them. I think it was a little. Was it 11? I thought it was a little after that.
Maybe it was 13. Somewhere in that time frame.
You know, but there's been many of them where, you know, I think it's unfortunately not a really one rule fits all organization, and the organization is just massive, right? So it's hard to fairly implement rules no matter how you do it, and I understand that, but
yeah, sometimes the enterprise isn't very equitable.
Yep.
You know, you go through and you see, and you're just like, wait a minute, like you said, those phenomenal airmen.
Yeah.
But his waist is
too big.
We know somebody.
Yep.
You know,
favorite guy.
Yep.
Forced to retire.
Yep.
I know who you're talking about.
Now, some of my fondest memories are that time frame.
Mine too.
And that was what I was, you know, like talking about, you know, some great memories and great leaders. We used to build ramps together.
Texas Ramp Project.
American
Texas Ramp Project.
Yeah, but it was also like American Disabilities.
ADA, yeah.
American Disabilities Act. Yes. Yeah. And we had a great group.
We did.
He was the measure guy, I was the cut guy, and then we had others that were doing, you know, all the stuff. But we had a chief, a couple master sergeants, Kahl, myself, and we did it, and we would finish those things quick.
Had a fun time.
Then we went to go get drinks and hung out and just shot the shit, you know.
Last time was his name was Charles or Chuck, I think. The guy with one leg rode a Harley. He jumped on his Harley, got one leg, hobbles out on some crutches because he doesn't have a freaking wheelchair ramp. That's what we were building for him. Anyway, jumps on his Harley, and we're like, what the? And it's a big bagger bike, man. Takes off. Comes back, 15 minutes later. And this is like, gotta be like 10 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's early morning. And so he comes back and he has a case of beer sitting in his lap on the freaking Harley, just rolling up. And he's like slowing down, and he just gets a little bit slow enough and leans up against a tree, throws his kickstand down. He's like, who wants some beer? I mean, that was the time to live for.
Oh, man.
Those volunteer projects, I mean, that was so much fun. That was so much fun.
I loved them.
Really,
I loved them. I think they're some of the fondest memories of my career.
Agreed.
You know, you got the young airmen that would go out there, like Benny. You know.
Oh yeah.
Now Benny's a master sergeant, about to be a senior. You know, this. I say this young kid,
guy.
like we say young, but like I mean, he's still a man, but he was a kid. He was a kid. He still had peach fuzz on his face. And now he's
doing great
running
things.
the show. Like he's pushing through and making that impact.
Which is that's the cool part, right? So we had a phenomenal team. We had some great people just like him. And you know, at least my hope, if we didn't taint him, we ended up hopefully guiding him a little bit, right? So those are the kind of people that you want to leave in your wake when you leave. Like me and him are gone. We don't make that impact anymore. And all that we can hope for and pray for is that people like him, you know, continue to be as awesome as they were when they were working for us. And now they're hopefully leading people the way that we wanted people to be led, you know? Which I think is why we had such a good team then. We had so many people that got along so well from the leadership level all the way down to the airman level. They just took care of people and took care of business, right? Yeah. So take care of business, then take care of your people, vice versa, all at the same time, and things go super smoothly.
Man, some good times. The events that we would go to, I've never seen a shop attend the events, you know, formal events.
In mass.
Yes. And, you know, it's just because we had such a great time. I mean, I just shared a picture with him of Maintenance Professional of the Year where I was a nominee, and he was wearing some of our career field stuff, and those are the memories that I distinctively remember is that group. I mean, I had memories throughout my whole career, but that group right there was one that was just like, holy hell, we're really doing this, with Jeff and with
everybody,
even Glenn Weaver and those guys, and I'm just like, what in the hell? How did
for years, man, we had a good stake in Dias for years, and it was just a good team everywhere.
Now, leaders, we talk about people, but one or two leaders that you're just like, holy hell, like these guys made such an impact.
Oh gosh, I don't know by name. So I would, if I'm going to do that way, starting out there's so many people. I'll go back to very, very beginning of my career. My very first shop, Ed Coca. He was a shop chief at the time. This was back when like you joined and you thought staff sergeants were like these gods, you know what I mean? So you were scared to talk to anybody. But he was super awesome at what he did. Extremely skilled person. Still is to this day. And he just led people like they were people, right? Like, hey, what can you give to the team? And I mean, just a phenomenal guy. So to start out my career, awesome leader. I had some other really good leaders there too. And then moving on, so I'll go back and forth because I can tell you I went to Whiteman for a while. Sheet metal guy, actually, Tony Stotler. Hopefully I got that right. It was a chief because it was a big fab flight there. And so anyway, we had a not so good, horrible, actually, shop chief at the time. And he was a master sergeant. I was still a staff sergeant. He actually got fired, and that chief fired him after asking me if I would be willing to take that duty on, basically, without somebody to do the position. And I'm, of course, I'm like, oh my God, but yes, because he's, the people hate working for this guy. And so, that stands out to me there. And I'm missing so many already at this point because I've had some really positive impacts. And the negative ones. I mean, I can think people, you see the negative ones and you're just like, don't ever act like this guy. Mm-hmm. And then, but every time there's that negative one, you'll find somebody to sort of lean on and they'll take you under their wing. That's the right kind of leader, right? So I've always had that. Get back to Dias. Of course, Greg, good friend of mine to this day, doesn't even live too far from here. And really, he was just someone in our career fields that really you wanted to be like because he was so successful as he went, and he still is to this day, even better. And so that was cool, awesome impact there. Tons at Dias. I could just go down a list.
I think one of these days I want to ask if he wants to do one. Yeah. I haven't, I don't think I still have his number. I think I might have Melissa on Facebook, but I would love to, because he's got a phenomenal story. I mean, he's just
phenomenal story.
He's, and
he did so much just for all his positions all the way to now. He's out here essentially the deputy group commander.
And it's crazy because I went to visit a buddy of mine. He was actually one of the people that wrote me a character statement, which I feel honored. And I went to go visit a buddy of mine in Germany, and he was stationed there at the time. And we had dinner with me, my buddy, and my cousin, and a couple other people. Phenomenal time. I mean, he's just
really, really good dude.
Yeah.
So had him, and then from there it was that was when I kind of took off to be first sergeant, and that's a totally different world. I had some really good commanders that I worked for, and some really good chiefs that I worked with that to this day are my friends that I think. I was able to collaborate with more as almost friends, but friends and mentors. You work together. There's a lot of them out there. I couldn't name them all, man.
Yeah,
I'd have to go like just image in your brain at a time. And
there's so many. There's so many. But you definitely you have all the good leaders, and then those bad leaders you distinctively remember because you're like, fuck this guy.
Yep.
Like
never be like this.
Never be like this guy. Never.
Yep.
Never.
And it's so obvious. What's funny is most of those bad leaders, they don't even realize they're bad leaders. But if you talk to anybody below them and even their peers sometimes, it's just so obvious that no one can stand the personality or whatever it is that they're doing wrong. And most of the time, it's just that they don't listen to anybody else. Because if you give them that feedback, they don't listen. They go on doing their own thing. But, yep.
I've seen one change from absolutely horrible to a phenomenal leader.
That's awesome.
And that was because he got that feedback from a couple peers.
Yeah.
They were like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And then he changes, and it just was a complete 180.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
and that's awesome when that happens.
who is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, but that's very rare. Very
It is
rare.
rare.
That's one of those where you're just like, I don't understand what just happened here, but I like it. Like this guy is actually having communication with you versus screaming and yelling at you and stuff. So
feedback is so important, but from someone who's getting feedback, nobody likes feedback. It's just natural. So you've got to really force yourself to like listen to what people have to say, especially when it's negative. And I mean, you got to figure that out. How do you change and adapt to what you're hearing? But you got to listen. You got to literally listen and comprehend what you're hearing and just make some changes.
For those that watch this, send me feedback. I've been asking for feedback.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a lot of positive feedback, so but
I don't know what on, but
there you go. See, I want that negative feedback in my comments. So now, as we're kind of wrapping this up, so you have past, present, and future individuals that are joining the military, in particular the Air Force, in general, the military, in particular the Air Force. Going through your career and doing what you did, especially being that first sergeant, what advice would you give to those that are out already, those that are still in, and those that are coming in? Because I think that helps shape. And if you've watched a couple of them, like the individuals that just talk about, hey, do this, or hey, focus on this. I mean, what is your take on that?
Yeah.
Because that's important to me.
And everybody's got something to say to those things based mostly on your experience, in your time. A lot of them are really similar. I'll start with kind of like the just retired or just retiring, when you're getting out. First of all, when you're getting out, and even if you're getting out earlier, take that first little bit of time, unless you got something lined up and you're doing great with whatever you got lined up, you're loving life, go for it, right? But take a little bit of time to reflect, take care of yourself, right? And sort of be mentally well, and then jump into the next thing. Especially if you've done 20 plus years and you're retiring, take some time with your family if you can, and just relax, man. You really have to do that. Seriously, several months and take care of family and take care of yourself. And then jump back into it. And just remember, it's something that I think I'm dealing with even a little bit now because I'm looking for another job. You can, it's so somewhat easy, if you will, in the Air Force. You're going to a next job. It's a guarantee somewhere in any military branch. You move from one position to a next. But you learn a lot of great skill sets in that time, no matter what branch you're in. Leadership and ownership of all kind of business aspects. You learn so much you're not even probably aware of. And it makes you a great asset to those outside companies, which is super phenomenal. But it's not always as easy, There's thousands of people looking for jobs. A lot of people out there, unfortunately, don't know what you've gained from your military experience. And so it's not always as easy as you might think it's going to be to say, like, hey, I'm a super good leader with people and this and that and whatever career field you were in and specialty you have. It's harder to translate that to the outside world. So, go make a good impression face to face is kind of my advice there. But definitely take some time off before you do that. Let's see. Let's go back to the beginning. Those folks joining. I think it goes back to this. Like, what's your why? Why are you joining? And reflect on that, and don't lose it. You can alter, your path however you want, and things that drive you are always going to change. But I think, if you join for a good, positive reason, and I say that specifically because there's people who join just because they only want the education. And I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world, but if that's the only thing that's driving you and you lose focus on taking care of your team, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
But if you're doing all those things and that's your driver, no problem. But if your only goal is money, or only goal is some easy cake job, or the education piece, or something that's very selfish, you've lost sight of what you're doing, and that's going to apply no matter where you go, right? But if whatever other reason you've joined the military, hang on to that. Don't forget where you came from, especially as you go up in the ranks, because people really get lost in, I think, the sauce, right? You go up, and especially as you get towards those upper ranks, and people become, that maybe weren't in some cases, I think they become sort of self-absorbed and more focused on what they want, and again, lose sight of the team and the objective that the team has, right? So some of those become the bad leaders, which there's many of. And so that combined in the middle leaves that same group with the same kind of advice, right? So if you join and you are driven for the right reasons, to take care of the mission, to do the job the best you can, no matter what your skill level is, just the best you can, and be committed to that, and then take care of your people and your team as you do it, you're going to go far, and keep that focus as you go all the way to the top. You've got to build a team, and you've got to do it with really passion, humility. There's so many people who aren't humble in that I've run across, and it's just so obvious, and it becomes very, people that are just self-absorbed. So don't become that, but keep that. What's your why, and let that drive you. Hopefully that why is those good reasons.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Now, what about those kids that are wanting to join?
Gosh, the ones that want to join or are thinking about joining. Okay, so first of all, there's a lot of things that have changed since I joined, and since I've gotten out. Driving factors are different. There's still always some form of help with education. It's a great, solid job. You're always going to have a paycheck, right? And your time is a whole career. Investment in your future. Retirements are different now. It's way different.
I forgot about that.
It's basically like 401k, right? So to me, that I think was a really poor decision, but it is what it is, right? Because you can work for Apple if you want and have a 401k, or the military 401k, put your life on the line, whatever. Anyway, I think, if you're thinking about joining, there's so much job security and so much you can learn. So really, go do 4 years, man. If you just want to enlist for 4 years, just go do it. Feel it out. Really, that taking the ASVAB, go take the ASVAB. Just who cares if you're going to even join? Figure out where you are sort of intellectually adapt for. Find those kind of things and use that to your advantage. If you go do 4, just commit to it and do your best. Even if your goal is to just get in, see what it's about, and get out, maybe learn a skill and get out. Just stay committed, while you're in. But there's just so many advantages to joining. I mean, there really are. And it doesn't matter what branch. You're doing a great service to our country. Thank you for all those people that are considering joining, and those that are in right now. For me, the security of our nation is so important to I think, our country, obviously. So for me, it's just huge. Thank you. Go do your piece if that's all you want to do. Go commit and take care of our country for a couple years and bounce. If you find you're in something you love and you get that skill, like I said, I didn't want to do my job. I'm like, what is this? I didn't know if I wanted to stay in, but then I loved it. And so, if you love it, stay committed. But there's a lot of really good things in the military, and every branch is going to teach you the disciplines and the basic sort of business. Everything from, hey, every business is going to have some sort of supply thing, some sort of training, some sort of general administrative work, the skill set it takes to actually do that job. There's so many things that even in just a short 4-year career, that if you take it in and you're willing to learn and commit, you're going to gain so much. I mean, it's really a small percentage of the population that is fit and able to join the military. And then to go capitalize on that, why not? Why wouldn't you do it, to be honest? Now, again, some people are like, hey, I'm an IT guy, I'm big in AI, and I already know where I'm going in life, go for it. But the military needs that too. So, just because you're great at it doesn't mean that you can't do it in the military. And so unless you've got, maybe mommy and daddy money flowing, then jump on something you love. And even if you do and you don't love it, jump on that anyway.
Yeah, you definitely have met. I've met several individuals who mommy and daddy had
Plenty of money.
substantial amount of money, and they were like, I wanted to join to do something, and I didn't really care what my parents said, and I'm like,
change your life.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I've seen some funny things, man. So one of the things we used to do, throw this in real quick, but as first sergeants, we used to go to all of these like new airmen classes and stuff, and ALS and all this stuff. But so the first term airman course that we would jump in, one of the times every time we went, we would ask like, hey, so why did you join? And I will never forget this kid, man. And I think this was at Dice, but it's so funny because everybody's telling there, well, I want to take care of my country, or I really like the education benefits, steady job, kind of those typical answers. And this kid just goes, well, you see, I was always in trouble and my parents kicked me out, so I was living with my older sister and I was just basically mooching off her all the time. And one day she goes, do you want to go get some McDonald's? And I'm like, yeah, I want McDonald's. So she says, well, let's go. Get in the car right now and take you to McDonald's. He says, she drove me straight to the recruiter's office that says, get out and go sign up. And he's like, what? He said, get out and go sign up or you don't get any McDonald's and you ain't coming back to my house. And he's like, so I signed up. And that's how he joined the military. It was the best story ever. And those are the kind of people that, make it good.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. Fortunately, he joined for McDonald's. That's the bottom line. And hopefully he went on to do great things.
Everybody has a why, right?
Yes.
But thank you. A lot of this stuff that you, your experience and your knowledge and your words are phenomenal.
Sure, thanks.
No, I say that, and every guest that I've had has their own take on everything, and it's great. It's great to hear these because not necessarily the average person gets to see these things, and I do this because it may not necessarily be. Some of us as military members don't talk to our kids about the military as much.
That's true.
And we don't say our piece and our story.
Right.
And maybe your kids can see this, or your family and stuff. Obviously, your dad has experience in it, and I'm pretty sure you can relate with your dad. But others around don't understand.
Don't have that opportunity.
They don't understand.
Yep.
So I do appreciate it, and taking your time to do this.
Glad I could finally get it done.
I know. We've been trying for a couple times now here in San Antonio. So. It's always something busy. Like either I'm busy or he's got something going on, which is understandable. It's life. But as I'm winding down, like I appreciate these. I want more stories. I love these stories. As I had a couple guests ago where we were talking with Jason about the VA starting that initiative of telling your story. And please, if you're out there, if you're watching, let me know. If you're in Tucson, let me know. Phoenix. If I travel around, I always take my laptop with me, and it's a great opportunity. If I'm in that area, I'll shoot it out on Facebook. I need to create that. I need to finish that Facebook page for this podcast and Instagram and everything else, so that way people can get some followers. And like I said, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for people to actually understand what the hell we do in life.
He's in it for the beer.
I'm in it for the beer, yes.
If you haven't noticed.
It was just one this time. When I'm at home, it's a lot different.
Well, we're not going to say what time it is, so one was probably decent, even though it should probably be like...
Oh, yeah, that is true. It's kind of a little early, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's right.
But I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you guys for watching. Please continue to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Get those individuals to subscribe. anybody that you send this to, get them to subscribe.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
you know, that there's going to be others that maybe they can relate to, or, you know, as civilians, they don't get a chance to see these, and then they start seeing them and they're like, holy hell. And then they kind of nudge their kids to join, you know, like
really
some crazy stories that have been on here. So
hopefully it's helpful. That's really what it boils down to. Hopefully it's helpful to somebody.
Exactly.
If nothing else, look and laugh. You know what I mean? Enjoy the information.
In March, if you get the opportunity, and I'm going to invite you, I'm doing the Irreverent Warriors hike in Tucson for the St. Patty's Day weekend. And if you would like to join, please, it's a phenomenal time. We have a
I'm kind of mad I missed the one here in San Antonio.
Oh my god!
So
Did you
close.
see that? That shit.
Yeah, I
the
saw those
pictures. That
pictures.
yeah. I was in a cowboy hat and little silky shorts, and if you don't know, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you need
Get to walking.
But again, I appreciate it. Thank you, and to everybody out there, please be safe. If you feel down, depressed, or you know you're having those you know suicidal feelings, reach out to people. We talk about this constantly throughout you know this platform, and I want you to know that there's always people out there. We don't need to be losing 44 a day. That's way too many. That's way too many. Any a day is way too many. But you know, so please take care of yourselves. Again, thank you. Love you guys, and I'll be doing another one within the next hour or so.
Yeah.
So I'll talk to you guys soon.
Driving down the road.
Yeah, driving down the road. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.